Let me go ahead. I'm starting to stream my screen on YouTube, so you'll be able to kind of use that as your reference.
Okay.
If you are joining to see how to make stuff, that is where you want to go. Welcome, Kaosa.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Just need to turn you up so that way you break my ears. All right, there we go. So, here's how this is going to work. Basically, what I have is I am streaming my Fantasy Grounds on the side. So if you go to YouTube, you should be able to see it being streamed right now. I don't think Hex, you have two screens, right?
Yes, I have two screens.
So it will be a little bit easier for you to see. I know KO, so you only have the one, correct?
Yes and no. I have a second screen I can set up. There it is.
Yeah, even if it's just like you're watching on your phone, that should be sufficient. Because what I'd like you guys to do is kind of follow along with what I'm doing.
Alright.
Yep.
Because that'll just make it easier for you to kind of see how I'm actually making things and whatnot for when you guys kind of make stuff for your own campaigns. All right.
Where can I
So let me know when you guys are at the load campaign, new campaign screen. I'm presuming, Hex, you're already there.
Yeah, I'm already there.
Okay. Let me just swap back to Discord for a moment. Haha, Karis, because I need a reason to play around with it. Nope, I'm interested in seeing how it goes. Good job, Karis.
Load campaign, new campaign. You mean like the main menu, right?
Yeah, the main menu where you would normally do your updates and whatnot.
Yep.
So first thing you probably want to do is go to your settings, because you're going to want to probably change where your stuff goes for your app directory and your data directory. That's where you would basically kind of change where things are stored. Because otherwise you have to go to your local apps and whatnot, and that can be a bit of a pain. So that's not mandatory. That's just something that I recommend that I wish I knew and I didn't do, because I learned about it after the fact. So a couple of things that help. You see that little folder icon right here where I'm pointing? It's right below the X in the resize window. That will open up the data folder, so that does make it a little bit easier. But you still kind of, for example, I should have changed it because my C drive where it's stored is really, really small. So... Alright, so I believe Chaos, so you're all set and ready? You don't...
I'm trying to bring it up on a different screen.
Oh, okay. Well, you have your phone, right?
I have my phone, but actually I think it might be easier to do this.
Because I believe it's summer and you're still at home, aren't you? Where you don't have a real desk, you just have a bed?
No, I do have a desk at home.
Oh, right, it's college you don't have the desk. Wait, is it... Which one is the one where you don't have the desk?
Well, it was college this past spring.
Gotcha.
I had one in the fall, but I had moved rooms. I have two desks now because I broke my TV.
Yikes.
Well, that's what VR can do.
Just type into Karis because he decided that he wants to watch this, but he doesn't want to touch it, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little confused. So, alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and you want to click first on New Campaign, Create New Campaign.
Okay.
And what you're going to see here is you're going to see your couple of things that are very important to know. You have to name your campaign. And then you can set a password for it for people to join. If you want to use a username, you can set that there. But what's very important is you see where it says select rule set? This is where you kind of select what rule set you want to use. So for example, we'll be doing this in the 5th edition. And then you'll see a bunch of extensions where you can see big fonts if you have that downloaded as an extension, different desktop backgrounds and whatnot. Over on the other side, you have your important information regarding how people will join you. That is something that I would have to go over with you not being streamed, because that's a bit more sensitive to both myself and yourself, and I don't want to like broadcast all that information.
All right.
So go ahead and create a new campaign, and I'll discuss the difference between campaigns and modules.
Do I need the fonts or?
You don't need the fonts. You only really need 5th edition. I recommend using the Wizards theme because it's a little bit easier to look at than the simple gray.
Okay.
And the wood theme.
Start campaign.
And what I'm going to do is I'm actually loading up the one that I use, or rather used for you guys, to kind of also show the difference between modules and campaigns. Because that's the first handy-dandy piece of information you need to know. Just waiting for it to load because it's quite large. So here's the thing. The difference between modules and campaigns, on a technical level, there isn't one. A module is basically a campaign that you have exported. So a better way to kind of think of it is, do you know what the difference between a local variable and a global variable is?
No.
Okay, so a local variable is something that has only one instance and only affects things that is on level A. On level
Okay.
B, you have your global variable. Global variables can include as many local variables. Local variables cannot include any global variables. So basically, you have... actually, I think it might be easier to use the tier system. You understand how tiers work, right?
Yeah.
So your low tier would be your local variable or your module. Your global tier would be your top module or your top tier or global variable. So when you're creating a campaign, you're basically creating a module that you're running, or you can import modules like what with the Lost Mines that we did. That is a module. What you're making right now is a module. When people are joining and playing, it's a campaign. It's a little hard to kind of explain without visuals, so let me open MS Paint. Okay, so you have a module. Now a module will contain all of your monsters, character data, or NPCs, all of your story stuff and whatnot, right?
It's waiting. It's
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do story, NPC, item. Let's see, what else would you have in there? Spells, feats. So you have a module there, all right?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and copy that. So that's one module. Let's say you have another module, you create another one with another campaign with a whole bunch of people and custom-made stuff. That's another module, all right?
Alright.
And then you have another module that you did for a third one. What a campaign is it's basically the same thing as the modules, where it's effectively in Fantasy Grounds, it's basically the same interface. But what a campaign is, if I can spell, a campaign is effectively all of these... That's not what I wanted. Where's a pencil? A campaign is all of these things linked together in one thing. And I realize that that is misspelled. So we're going to cross that out. I thought I hit the M key, but I didn't. You know what? Screw it. We're not going to worry about it. You get the idea, though, right?
Yeah.
So the campaign is basically a collection of modules. Modules are the data that is stored. Okay, so yes, I want to open all the windows. Alright, so when you're GMing, first thing you want to do, it's going to go through a whole bunch of stuff that stuff you want to load. There actually are a few modules that I would like you guys to load, so that way you can kind of see what you're looking at. And it's going to be this one, the D&D 5th edition standard bestiary, the D&D data, the standard magic items. So those are the three that you want to load. And then if you actually go from your library, you should see these under core rules, yes? It's going to take a moment, I know.
Yeah. I see him.
I think I unloaded one of those. Hold on a second. Nope, data did not load. So now if you see them under your core rules, go ahead and click on data.
Okay.
This is everything that has imported. It's basically all the stuff in that module. So like for example, if I click on equipment, I can click on armor and it's going to list all of this armor. And that's all the very basic stuff that you really need to run your campaign. So if I go to weapons, it's going to have all of that stuff. If I go to adventuring gear, it's just going to list all of that stuff. Let's see, if I go to classes, it should list all of the classes. Now, it's going to be very, 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 very basic because they want you to buy the manuals and stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, you kind of don't need that. It's very, I will say, it is extremely helpful to have, but it's not necessary for you to run basically your own one-shots, for example. So you're going to see all of this stuff. Will link you the information about it. So it'll tell you cantrips, all the bard spells, very basic stuff. And you're going to see the same thing. Let's go ahead and click on the reference manual here. Now, the reason why I want you to look at the reference manual is because this is going to have all the same stuff, but it's a little bit better organized. So what you would want to do is you take this reference manual here, click and drag to your hotbar at the bottom. And that will allow you to basically open that reference manual by clicking on it. I find this very useful for, because I have the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master Guide, I find it very helpful when I'm creating stuff to kind of use that to quickly get to stuff I need references for. So like, for example, I might have that, I have the Player Handbook on the quick slot for where I'm creating characters, for example. And you can rename it just by right-clicking on it and then editing the label so it doesn't say reference manual. Questions so far?
Nope.
Keosa?
I had time issues a bit back, so I think I fell behind. I'm trying to follow with the.
Okay. Do you need a moment to catch up?
I think I might.
Okay. Where are you at?
I have the library open.
Okay, so you have the library open. Do you have anything under core rules?
Yeah.
Okay, you should have SRD, bestiary, data, and magic items, right?
Yep. Okay. Reference manual.
Yep. So if you click on the reference manual, it's basically the reference manual. It's just an easier way of reading all of those things that they have listed there, like the adventuring gear and whatnot. Don't ask me how these are made because I am still trying to find that out. But it has almost all of the basic information for stuff you need, like here's the information for Dragonborn. It's very plain and basic. If I actually go to races and I look for the, just to give you kind of an idea of how different it is, this is the player handbook on the right. This is the SRD on the left of all the information about Dragonborn. So as you can see, the player handbook is much more verbose, but effectively it gives you the same information. See, I mean, these two things, same exact thing. So that's why I say you don't really need to buy anything, but it is helpful for, it's helpful, it's not necessary.
Okay.
So hopefully all of that made sense. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
right here you have a bunch of tables. Actually, let's go ahead and take a look at spells. It'll show you a list of the spells that you have available. I think this only goes up to maybe... Oh shit, no, it goes all the way to 9th. How about that? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. You guys want to look at monsters first or items first? Before we start actually getting to do some hands-on stuff.
Which one are we looking at?
Monsters or items?
Okay.
I'm talking about core rules. Which one?
Yeah, which one do you guys want to look at first? Do you want to look at monsters, or do you want to look at items?
Monsters.
Monsters, alright. So, monsters in this are all under the NTC tab. So, if you go ahead, click on the reference manual for monsters, it'll give you a whole bunch of information about their stat blocks, alignment, all of the wonderful stuff that you would want to know about monsters. Skills, saving throws, and then they have an actual list of monsters that you were able to use that are just with that. There are not a lot. So, for example, if I don't know, I'm not going to use that one as an example because I don't know how to say that, but like Cockatrice, challenge rating is 1/2. And this is what I was telling Hex earlier. So, let's say you wanted to make Doom Chicken. Every
Doom.
time,
Yeah.
so let's say you want to make a Doom Chicken that every time that it hits you, you have to make a save, or it casts Bane on you. So you could use this as a template for making a new creature. And in fact, we're gonna go into that probably when we get to stuff first. But for now, let me go ahead and load up a crab so that way I can show you that there are whole bunches of different challenge ratings. Challenge rating is basically relative strength to the party. I don't fully 100% understand it. I just kind of use it as a guide. So, for example, like, I don't know the difference between a challenge 1 or the ratio of challenge 1 to a player. So, yeah. But basically, challenge 0 is the easiest challenge, and as their challenge goes up, they get stronger. Now, something to keep in mind is that, see how it has 0 here and how it has 10 XP? If I click on a cat, it's a challenge rating 0, it's 10 XP. So, XP between the challenge ratings is pretty much stable. So, all challenge 5 are going to be like 1800 XP. All challenge 1/2 are about 100 XP. Oh shit, elephants are challenge rating 4. Don't fuck with the elephants.
No, I mean their tusk is for something.
You gotta
You
watch
don't
out for
want a hole
those
in your
legs.
Stomach.
Alright, so let's go ahead and now take a look at magic items, because monsters, that's pretty much all there is to show with monsters.
Items.
So you actually have a couple of things here. I don't know why it has NPCs, but that's besides the point. But you have magical armor. Generally speaking, you're with the basic stuff. You don't really need to create too much, unless if you're doing like additional rules or you're trying to make something similar but slightly different. Like, I think if I go to this and I want to do, let's see, something good. Well, I'm looking for fire weapons.
Are you in the magic items?
Yeah,
Uh.
and I just clicked on magic items.
Okay.
Interesting. There we go. So let's say, for example, I have a short sword of flame tongue, right? Basically, it's a fire sword. That's what it would look like in the game because it has an image attached to it.
Oh, there's
this
demon armor? What?
slow
Sorry,
slow down, buddy.
I saw that and I'm like, what?
Slow down.
Okay, short sword?
Yeah,
Or
basically it's a short sword that does fire damage. So
what's
I
the name
mean,
called?
well, I'm using this. Don't worry about it. That part,
Okay.
because I'm just trying to give an example. Uh,
Okay.
Basically, if you want to change, like, let's say you wanted it to be a short sword and it does fire damage, uh, that's just something that simple changes are really going to only really do this for.
That was a really cool picture.
All right, so that's pretty much items in a nutshell. It's time to start getting into some nitty gritty. So
The nitty-gritty.
we'll start with NPCs.
NPCs.
We're gonna
Oh,
create we're gonna create a Doom chicken.
I want to create a Doom chicken.
All right. So first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna find the cockatrice. Now, as you can see, it has a red lock on it. That means it's read only. That means you can't physically change the cockatrice.
Okay, so wait, where'd you click to?
Basically, you see here over here NPCs.
Items? Or wait.
NPCs.
Uh,
So what we're also
NPCs. Okay, got it.
okay. So before we continue, let's make sure that we're all looking at the same thing. Click on library, and then you see up here where it says all. On the library up here, just make sure that you have all of the things.
Okay, click library, and then click what?
All.
All?
All.
All. Click all. Okay.
Yeah. So that's gonna have all of
So
this
it's
stuff on
bringing
the
all
side.
all
Yeah.
okay.
So that way, because I know you guys are trying to follow along, it's easier to have everything look the same. So right now I have the cockatrice open. You can actually select the group that you're in to kind of see what, like, as you can see, I have a lot of different NPC tables. So what we're going to do is, before we create a new cockatrice and change it to a Doom chicken, we're going to first
Yeah.
click on this little sign here where it edits the groups.
Alright. Hold on.
What's the?
Yep.
It's because I'm waiting for it to show up on.
Okay, so you're going to look at the top. You see where it says group. And right now you might have it under all. But if you click on that, and you click on the D&D 5th Edition SRD Bestiary, you'll be able to sort out everything and only have that. But you'll see on the side how you have that like yellow circle with the slash mark in it.
Group. D&D Bestiary.
Yeah, it's the module.
So I click that.
Yep. So that's going to organize everything so you're only seeing those. But what we're going to do is we're going to also create a new group. Because that way you can kind of organize where things you want them to be for your module. Because everything in that D&D 5th Edition Bestiary, those are all read-only, so you can't actually edit any of those. Just waiting to see how you guys are doing.
I've managed to create the new group.
Okay, so you've created the new group. Did you also name it? If you didn't name it, I recommend naming it because it does help. So you want to click on the little green plus to create a new group. It's going to be called Group 1 typically. And then you can rename it to be Hex's Bodacious Monsters or Chaosa's Killer Creatures or whatever you want to call it.
Wait, where's the green? What? What am I
Okay.
looking for again?
Okay. Starting again, Hex. So you click on the group. You're going to have a list of all the groups, right?
Yeah.
And
I see all
that right
Oh,
side.
click new.
Yep, you want to click on the edit groups, and then you want to click the little green plus sign that shows up when you do that to add a new category. If you click the red red lines, the red dots, those will erase groups, don't do that.
Okay.
Only do that if you fuck up.
Okay. Name the group.
Yep. So you can name it whatever you want.
Click out that, and then click that. All right, got it.
All right, now don't click on your group just yet, because what we're going to do is look for the cockatrice in the 5th edition standard bestiary.
Okay.
All right, and if you left click and hold it, you can actually drag it into the same window, and it'll create a copy.
Okay.
So now with a copy, what you want to do is go ahead and click on groups so you can see the list of groups. You can then click and drag that copy over to the group you want it to be in. And then if you switch to that group, you should have that monster in there. So, for example, it should say cockatrice copy.
Yeah. I have that.
Where did mine go? Oops. Hold on, I just moved mine to the wrong place. Alright, so now if you look at it, you'll notice that the lock is not the same color, because it's not read-only. So this, you can actually unlock and change its properties. And this is the easy way to make monsters. So up here you're going to have that little ID thing. You see where it says ID next to the lock and between the C and the lock. So that C is the monster's icon for the map. The ID is if it's identified or not. So if the players aren't...
Identified.
So if you have it unidentified, it's going to use the non-ID name. So you can just type in there chicken, and then if the players are... If you're using that in combat with the players and they have not ID'd it, which is something that you will do as a GM on your side and decide what they roll for it. It could be a nature, it could be an arcana, whatever you want it to be. If it's not identified, instead of seeing cockatrice copy, they'll see chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah, so we're going to name this also, once it's unlocked, to Doom Chicken. So it's the same as a regular chicken, except it dooms people. Let me know when you guys have caught up.
Yep.
Okay, so some of the obvious stuff. Size. Size is important because you will use size to determine how big the pog is when it's dragged into a grid map. So, for example, if I go to... Okay, so you were there for the Liquid Flame battle, right? I'm doing some things right now to kind of just show you what it means. Don't worry about the combat tracker at all. We're gonna get there. Maps. Where's the Dungeon Master Guide? There we go. So I believe this should already be gridded. So, alright, let's send that to the background first. So let's take our Liquid Flame from the combat tracker. And see how he's like stupid huge? He's like filling the entire corridor. Don't run into that guy. The chicken, even though it's small, will just still appear in that because it makes it easier to see. But if it was huge, and I drag it to the combat tracker, and it is now chicken 2, see how it now is different sizes?
Yeah.
You'll see it when it updates. You'll see it when it updates.
Yeah.
Basically, the size is important because it automatically sizes your stuff for you, so you don't have to think about it.
Huge.
Yeah, that is a big ass chicken. The Colonel would be proud. You're gonna get so many wings. The Doom Chicken, it has 16,000 wings and is tasty with butter and a little bit of garlic. So anyways, that's why you want to make sure you type in the size. Type is important mostly because it helps you organize things. So if you go over back to your NPC window, you see at the bottom where it has CR and type. CR being the challenge rating, type being the monster type. And this is where spelling is very important. You want to make sure that you are typing in what kind of type of creature it is. So, for example, if it was a Doom Chicken and it was a skeleton and you want it to be undead, you would type undead. So that way, if I wanted to sort out all of the undead creatures, or if it's an ability that affects undead creatures, I would be able to see that there.
What if I wanted to make it a fiery undead Doom Chicken?
Well, we'll get into that. If you wanted it to be a fiery undead Doom Chicken, it would still be classified as undead.
Okay.
Now, let's say you type in something wrong here. Let's call it type farm animal. So what that's going to do is it's going to actually add the type of the chicken in. So you need to be careful with doing that. It didn't update yet. Let me close it, reopen it maybe. Doom Chicken.
Backgrounds.
Maybe it's not liking the space. So let's just call it farm. Because it is like a cow, except a Doom Chicken. Well, anyways, just be careful what you type in there, because sometimes it'll update it. So, alignment, you don't really need to worry too much about alignment, if I'm being 100% honest. I mean, it's fine for role-playing, but it sometimes isn't as helpful. So don't worry about that. Now, we get to the important parts, the stats. So, armor class, obviously you know what this does, yeah?
Yes.
That's that you hit. You have this space over here to kind of describe it. Completely unnecessary. So I could put in natural armor here, change it to a 12, and the 12 is the only thing that really matters. Hit points. Hit points are also obvious. We're going to change that to 30. And we can go ahead and get rid of this because that shit doesn't matter. Speed. Speed is only important because you need to have something in there for your combat tracker.
Gonna make it a fast Doom.
So you can change the speed, which is fine. But you should try to have something in there. As you can see, everything is separated by commas. So make sure that you're separating from commas. Then you have your stat bar. This little C here, this is throwing a check. The little S is for save. You'll also see automatically it does the +1 or -1 for you. So you can change those however you like. Saving throws, if your creature has special saving throws, so let's say I wanted to do, let's see, what's its highest? We'll say it's got a good wisdom saving throw. So we can type in wisdom +2. Now if I throw a constitution, you're going to see it over here. It's going to be the 10 +1, because that's the ability modifier. If I do the wisdom, it should say +2. Because I have a +2 down here. So that overrides that +1. If I change this to a 3 and I do that, it'll say +3 instead of +1. So see how it says +3 instead of +1? You'll get this in the update. And then you can also add skills. So stealth, for example. Now, as you saw there, and I'm going to show you this again, it can kind of auto-complete if you have pre-made skills. which you should with the data being loaded. So I can do plus stealth, plus 6, because it's a black feathered chicken, so it's nice and stealthy. And then it actually, now it has a stealth roll.
Stealthy Doom Chicken. Curse you.
So here comes the hard part. And it's hard because you have to constantly remind yourself of this. Everything you type here is case sensitive. For the damage vulnerability, resistances, and damage immunities. So, for example, Hex, you remember during the Liquid Flame battle how you guys weren't resisting its attacks?
Yeah, because of the case sensitivity.
Because it was fire with an uppercase F and not a lowercase f. So you need to make sure that if you want to use uppercase, that's fine. If you want to use lowercase, that's fine. It just has to be consistent.
Okay.
So case does matter. So this chicken is going to be resistant or vulnerable to radiant damage. And it's going to resist necrotic. Necrotic. There we go. And it's going to be immune to poison. You guys follow so far?
Yep.
So, alright. We're going to go over some buttons because we're now on the condition immunities. So you see the little walking guy in the upper right?
The one under the paint?
The color palette? Yeah.
Colors?
So click on that. It's called effects.
Oh, adding effects to him.
Not exactly. Do you see over on the left side of that how you have all of those conditions?
Yeah.
So those are the condition immunities.
Alright, hold on. I gotta...
That's what it would be immune to. So we can say immune to prone. Remember to keep it lowercase, because if you're going to type everything in lowercase... Condition immunities... conditions I don't think are as touchy. But the damage definitely is. Oops, close my NPCs. So everybody following so far.
Yep.
Senses. Yeah. Okay, so senses are... Here's how to explain it. The stuff that you put in here is really mostly for flavor text. It doesn't really matter because you're the GM. And you're really only using it for your own kind of idea. The only thing that kind of... Well, yeah, because, I mean, you want to know that the Doom Vision has a dark vision of 60 feet. Because of the way that this version works, I mean, this might change with the Unity edition, but here it doesn't make much of a difference. Even the passive perception, you don't really need to worry about that too much. It's good to have it there, but, you know, don't break your brain on it. Following so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so languages, again, that's more for flavor. You don't really need to worry too much about it. Unless if you want to be like super heavy in the role-playing, in which case you do worry about it. Challenge rating. Challenge rating, this is how you also sort your creatures. So if you look back at your NPC window, you have a list of challenge ratings. So if I click on 1/2, you should see... Oops, not 1/4, I want 1/2. You should see my Doom Chicken. There is the Doom Chicken.
Waiting for it to catch.
Well, the point is that if you sort it yourself, Hex, you would be able to see the 1/2.
Yeah.
So if I changed it to a 1/4 or 1/4, it'll move accordingly. XP, as I mentioned, XP is stable through all of the challenge rating. So, for example, 1/2 is typically only 100 XP. You can change this if you really want. That's really up to you. But you basically would want to have it before the net. Basically between, if you wanted to change it, the challenge rating above and the challenge rating below that it's currently set to. So you don't want it to be anywhere between, you want it to be somewhere in between there. So if you like put it at 110, that's not going to be a huge issue. You put it at 190, that's not going to be a huge issue. It would be a huge issue if you put it at 200 because, as you can see, it should be a challenge rating 1 at that point. Following so far?
Yeah.
Alright, now we get to attacks. this is where things get a little interesting. So you have a couple of things here. You have traits, you have actions, you have reactions, legendary actions, lair actions, innate spells, and spells. Innate spells and spells, let's see, does this actually do anything? Not really. Innate spells are like spell-like abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Actual spells are spells you can cast. These numbers here kind of dictate what you can cast with that. So if I put 2, you lower it by double-clicking it. But you really don't need to worry about that too much, because you're going to be, if you is a spellcaster, it's strongly recommended that you look at another spellcaster of a similar level, because you're just going to break your brain trying to figure out what it should not be casting. So, for example, here's Manus the Necromancer, who's basically a copy of another Necromancer from a different guide. And that's the difference between all of that stuff. Go ahead and unlock the chicken, because it doesn't cast any spells. Edit this to get rid of it. Edit this to get rid of it. So, those are spells. Lair actions, legendary actions, reactions, and actions are all effectively the same thing. At least from the standpoint of creating a creature. Traits are different. Traits are basically, let me see if I can find something with a trait. Where is the liquid flame? So traits are basically things that are innate to the creature. So for example, fire form on liquid flame, where if you're close to it, you're taking fire damage. Those are things that typically, when you're creating a creature, are things that are automatically applied to it. So for example, Hex, your racial ability to resist fire, that would be a trait.
Okay.
To give you kind of an example in relation to your character. Longsword, when you're attacking something, that would be an action. Making sense so far?
Yeah.
Chaosa, your burning hands, those would be a spell.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. So, alright, well, let's take a look at making an action. Let's call this action Claw, because that's what it is. And we're going to have to label what kind of a thing it is. So typically there's 3 things that you're going to be putting here. Well, really there's going to technically be, 3. Because this is going to be mostly for weapon attacks, ranged weapon, melee weapon attacks, ranged weapon attacks, and abilities. So we're going to name this melee weapon attack. It's a good idea to just kind of follow the same formatting. It's a +3 to hit, likely because it's a 1/2 creature and it's getting the +1 from the dexterity, so we're going to continue the +3 to hit. And as you can see, if you hover over that melee weapon attack, it turns to blue. See that?
Mm-hmm.
What that means is that if you click on that, it rolls a dice. And this part is the frustrating part. Do not hover your mouse over that and type, because watch what happens. It'll erase everything right away, immediately. So we're going to put in the reach. Reach is important, only really more so on your end to remember how long something is. It doesn't really work into any of the mechanics for actual combat. So, for example, as if this creature was 10 feet away, and I took the dice from it and then roll it onto you, it would still think that you're 5 feet away. So that's more for your information and not for the mechanical part of everything. When creature, again, that's for you, because you can do that to multiple creatures. You just have to select them. Alright, so now we need to put in the data for what happens when something gets hit. So you can type on hit, you can type hit, and then you do your damage dice. So we're going to do the same thing that we have up there, the 1d4. And it's called piercing damage up there, but what we're going to do is we're going to call it slashing damage. And again, if you hover over that, if you did it correctly, 1d4. Why is it slashing? Oh, damage. So once you put the damage in, it's gonna actually bless you. It's actually gonna do the damage. So if and then it'll turn blue, and then you have to start being careful.
Okay.
So now you can go ahead and click on it, and look at that. You guys made an attack for a creature.
Oh my god.
Now let's add an effect to that attack. Oops. That's why you want to not hover your mouse over things.
Nothing Control Z can't fix.
Yep, nothing Control Z can't fix. Just be careful how fast you're typing. Make a DC 12. Let's see. It's Doom, so we'll make a Wisdom save. So, here's the thing. Depending on what you type in here, it will have an effect. If you type in one of the effects, like creature is cursed, on a failed save, saving throw, creature is cursed, creature gets a disadvantage. So as you can see, I can hover over a creature is cursed, and then it has a thing. But if I go over here to creature gets disadvantage on their next attack roll, it doesn't. So for the effects, you can put in whatever you want. And this is where the effect window comes in handy, because you can do attack, ATK, and that should give a creature disadvantage on their next attack. So let's go ahead, take a PC. Go ahead, open up your combat encounter. You can drag your creatures into the combat tracker. That's how you get them there. And if you click on the little sword, you should see the creature attacks. So now we're going to go a little bit over the combat tracker since we're working with this monster. Let me know once you guys get there with the combat tracker. Are you guys there?
Yeah.
What? Combat
Almost.
track.
Because now we're taking a look at the monster that we created. And how it works. And how it works for everybody else. Or not everybody else, but to see how it works for when you created it. So let me know once you guys are there.
Yep.
Alright, so because your creature may or may not be identified, you see how it has a little ID? In fact, if you click on that ID, it will change between the actual name of the creature and the non-ID name of the creature. So that's what your players are going to see. The little eyeball underneath the creature icon, that is its visibility. You can toggle the visibility of everything up here with the big giant eyeball on the same line as name, initiative, HP, temporary, hit points, and wound. So you can change the thing for all of the creatures. You can also do the same for clicking on all of the little icons for over here for all the creatures to see them. So let's go over some of these icons and what stuff is. So initiative, that's self-explanatory. I can change manually the initiative of a creature here. So we're going to give Elvira an initiative of 16. We're going to give her 13. We can change the hit point total. So we can now make this 33 instead of 30, or we can change it to 30. We're gonna keep it at 33 actually.
Wait, how'd you bring Doom Chicken?
Wait, what?
How'd you bring Doom Chicken into the combat tracker?
Okay, you see the little red dragon thing?
Yeah.
Drag and drop.
Okay.
Now, for your intents and purposes, you do not need to have a creature or real character in there. You can just drag 2 of them in there to kind of see how things work.
All right. 2 Doom Chickens.
Yeah. And then we're going to go over how we change one of them to be green, like Elvira.
Friendly Doom Chicken.
So, yeah, you see the little skull? That'll change its faction. So, red obviously is hostile, green is friendly. And those are really the only 2 that you really need to care about.
Give me a moment.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem. Let me go ahead and reset my tracker real quick. Rest. Okay, so where was I? Alright, so yeah, you can change the hostility of a creature. Really, the only ones you really care about are the being hostile or not hostile, aka friendly.
Okay.
And you can just change that on the fly. So let's say, oh shit, you shot Taco in the back too many times. And he gets
Now
he
hostile.
gets pissed. You can switch him to hostile, and then he can be hostile if he wants to be. I mean, he can still be hostile if he wants to be, but for appearances, it just makes it look nicer. So the first thing you have there, the thing that looks like a bullseye, that is the targeting. That's how you can see what something is targeting. So right now you can see that the Doom Chicken isn't targeting anything. You can actually drag the little target thing onto a creature, and then it should target them. It will most likely require you actually doing that on the map and not in the combat tracker. So let me go ahead and click the next actor so that way I actually have them selected. So go ahead, click this. This is how you change the actor down here. You know this as the skip button. So when you need to be able to, in order to target, you actually have to look at things on the map. So you don't have to worry about that so much, but that's where you see things that are targets. This is also where you clear the targets. So if you click on the little bullseye, you can make that go away. So make that go away for now. You then have the attributes. This is helpful for if you need to see what its scores are in relativity to everything else. So you can see, alright, well, the chicken is more wise than Elvira. So you can get rid of the attributes now. This is the important part here. This is your offenses. So you're going to see your attacks, you're going to see your AC, you're going to see your speed, basically all of the important stuff. Now, let's take a look at the attack that we just made. You should see Claw, M, that means melee. And then you have the attack, the damage, and because we added in that save, you should have the save versus Wisdom 12, and the effect that should be applied. Now, the effect you could just drag and drop on the creature, so you don't have to worry about that. So let's make Elvira do a Wisdom save. She got a 12, she failed the save, so that's how you know that you apply the curse to her. Now, if you notice, you do not have the disadvantage there. And if I did this right, she now has attack disadvantage, or she should have attack disadvantage. So if I go over here, open up Elvira's character sheet, and with the creature, you would basically just drag that. And you know what? I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to just do what you guys have, because that's just going to make life easier. So where's that effect? So if I go to its attack, I attack you this. Oops. So it doesn't look like it applied properly, but so I'd have to figure that out for you guys. But basically, you can click on the disadvantage thing. You don't really need to worry about that. But what's more important is that you'll see that the duration ticks down, and that you can see this stuff here, because this is the important stuff, not so much the disadvantage. Guys, following so far?
Yeah.
All right, so you can go ahead and close the attacks because you don't really need to know. You already know how that all works, anyways. So you just kind of like click and drag to do the damage, click and drag to do all that other stuff. So you can go ahead and get rid of that. And then you're going to have the size and reach, which is kind of silly, but hey, whatever. And then you have the next important one, which is the effects. So as you can see, you have all of your effects down there. You have the Vuln, Radiant, Resist, Necrotic, Immune, Poison, Immune, Prone. See all of that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so to show you how that works, let me go ahead and actually bring in a different PC. You don't have to do this. This is more of a showing folks who are playing the home game. So if I take Sacred Flame and I apply the damage to the chicken, it is vulnerable, so it should. She rolled a 3. It got 6 damage. The chicken's dead. And then, as you can see, because the chicken got instant death, you have now the new unconscious. You remove that just by doing that. And that is basically all you really need to know about the combat tracker. As you are already aware, you can press and hold control on the creature's turn to do that. And to remove them, you can. If it's dead, you're going to have. Let's go ahead and kill a creature. Doom Chicken 2 has 30 hit points. Once it has all of the wounds, you can remove it from the tracker from the delete item that shows up. Everybody copacetic with how the combat tracker works for combat?
Yeah.
Alright, some additional things. Outside of the next round, you also have the next round button over here. You have the next actor button over here. This right here just helps you do something. I don't know what that does. It does nothing. I think it just opens the combat tracker easier. But if you click on menu, you can close the window, you can rest everybody. This is how you guys got your rests. You can roll initiative for everybody, the NPCs or just the PCs. Or you can clear the initiatives. And then you can go to effects, you can clear all effects, you can clear expiring effects, or you can delete stuff from the tracker. Delete everything and only foes. Or the non-friendly and all the foes. So that's the only real instance that you would use the friendly. Over here you have the round information. I can put round 2. And that's really about it. Any questions on the combat tracker so far?
None.
Alright, any questions on creating a creature so far? Hex?
Just none.
Nothing?
No
Anybody?
questions.
Creatures? Alright, there's also another tab on here. You have 2 tabs. You have main and other. Other is basically a good place to put like flavor text. So if I go over here, there's nothing. But if I go to something I know that has something, liquid flame maybe? Nope. The lizard folk has stuff, I think. Yeah. So like there's a whole bunch of information because I took the information from one of the manuals. So everybody knows how to make a creature, yeah? Or at least copy a creature.
Yeah.
Creating a creature, it's effectively the same thing. You just right-click on your window for the NPCs. You're going to have create an item, and then it's going to have a new personality, and then you just fill everything out yourself. And that's how you would also create an NPC. So NPCs are effectively the same as monsters. Questions so far?
Nope.
All right, pop quiz. Experience points.
Yes.
How are those determined?
By I it's on the tip of my
It's
tongue, but I
right
can't
next
say
to the
it.
challenge, right?
Yep, you got it. It's determined by the challenge rating. All right.
Yeah.
Damage, resistance, immunities, and vulnerabilities. What case should they be in?
Repeat question.
Damage, vulnerability, resistance, and immunities. What case should they be in?
Lower.
Hex?
Wait.
Chaos
Should
thinks
they
it should be
be
in lowercase. What case do you think it should be in?
Lowercase.
Okay, lowercase is correct. All right. Very good.
I was just confused by the question. Like, what?
So, okay, so keep in mind that for some of the things that you might have for your actions, or rather
It
the
should be like
traits.
wisdom and all that in capitalized, and all the effects should be in lowercase.
Right, but I said the damage, vulnerability, resistance, and immunities, those should all be lowercase. Because when
Okay.
you're typing in the actions, typically you're going to be typing them in lowercase. You can type them in uppercase. If I change piercing to a P here, an uppercase P, and I put an uppercase P for resistances for piercing for here, that'll work. The only problem is if one of them is not the same as the other. Most of the monsters are in, as you can see over on Liquid Flame, and if I go to a real monster like Brass Dragon, damage immunity, fires in lowercase here. So that's basically all you really need to know about monsters. So encounters are basically how you make. So you know when you guys ran into bandits or whatever? That's an encounter. That's just basically a quick way of. Not that. That's not what I want. I want a standard one.
A ton of baddies.
Yeah, it's basically a way that you can have a whole bunch of baddies all put together for an encounter. So, for instance, no. Here we go. So, for example, here's an example of an encounter where there's a ghoul, a giant snake, a giant rat, and a goblin. Wait, what? That is the weirdest fucking encounter. But it's an encounter! What the encounter does is this button down here, and you can drag and drop, you can actually change the numbers. This can, if it's unlocked, which this one is. So I can change this to 3, and now you're fighting 3 goblins instead of 1. And then let's actually do that just to show you. Because what this will do is it automatically calculates the challenge rating of the encounter, as well as the XP awarded. So because I changed this, if I update the challenge rating, it'll also update the PC, or the XP. And that's basically what that does. Pretty easy. And if I change this back over here, done. You can change if they're hostile, if they're identified. You can actually see their stat blocks by clicking on the little dragon icon. If I wanted to add another creature, so I want to add in where's my manual? Let's say I want to add in something that I made personally. I can drag it in. Boom, there's a goblin shanker. Refresh. That gets updated. And I can add this encounter to the combat tracker, so it all goes nice and easy. Now, you can, let's say you're not doing a one-shot and you're doing something that is already pre-planned, you can actually put the monsters of the encounter on the map ahead of time. I think I'm doing this right. And see how they now have the check mark? And if I close this, it should go away. If I go back to the encounters, that was the Tower of this or whatever, and I throw that in a combat tracker, boom, look at that, they're all in place. How cool is that? So again, just to show you, there's nothing here. Combat tracker is empty. I click place. Boom, everything's there. And if I want to take them off, I just click on the little check mark. So that's how you can kind of like pre-place traps and everything. Questions so far on the encounters?
No.
Alright, let me clear the combat tracker real quick. But alright, but FUBAR, I don't want to have to create encounters every 30 goddamn minutes. So there's actually a tool that you can do to create...
tool?
Yeah, there is a tool. So you see up at the top where it says random on the encounters? So go ahead, click on that, and you're going to see encounters. Random. Go ahead and create yourself a new group for that. Just in case, this is just that way to set you guys up to have kind of like what I'm doing here with the FUBAR manual. Go ahead, create a new group, name it. Once you've named it, go ahead, click on the group.
Okay.
And then what you want to do is, once you're on the group, create a new random encounter. And let's see, we're going to create, for me, I'm going to create a cultist encounter. Cultist back, actually no, I'm going to do a null encounter. Because I'm working on nulls right now. This is challenge rating 1/2, this is challenge rating of 1, I'm okay with that. Right, so you name it, and then what you do is, it's very simple. From your NPCs, you drag whatever you want into there, and that's it. Easy peasy. So let's see, what else can I throw in here with the nulls? Let me get rid of you. I hear chuckling. Why is there chuckling? Why is there chuckling?
Just the ones I picked for my random, that's all.
Actually, I want hyenas. Do I have hyenas? Let's eat. I have hyenas. So, okay. You see how it has the token? And then it has space to put a die count? See all of that, guys?
Mm-hmm.
And then it has the creature, if it's identified or not. And you can mark it friendly, you can mark them hostile ahead of time.
There are a bunch of dragons.
And then what you want to do is, so for the Windscar Null Raiders, I'm going to put 1d6.
I'm
And
gonna put a baboon. Oh, I can't put a baboon.
you can put a baboon, you can put whatever you want in this, dude. It's just to show you how it works.
I want a baboon, and then I want a gorilla. No, an ape.
And then
Then maybe a
1d4.
bugbear.
So now here's the fun part. You can add some minor math functions in here. Typically, you only want to keep to plus and minus. Don't go crazy here. So for example, I'm using here 1d4 plus 1 hyenas. So there will be at minimum 2, at maximum 5. And to show you how you can do this for other things, here we go. Let's say I want to create an encounter where I have 1d2 actually, where I want to have a bunch of really powerful monsters, or at least for that encounter, but I don't want them to be like the main force, right? So you can increase the dice size, so you can do like a 1d20 minus 19, and then basically what that would mean is that anytime you roll a 20, that creature would show up. So you can kind of change a little bit how common or uncommon things are by using the plus and the minuses. So for example, for the Ratmen, the brown main soldier, there's going to be 1d4 minus 2. So if I roll a 3 and a 4, there will be 1 to 2 brown main soldiers. Same thing with the guardman. I think I need to change that. I do need to change that. That'll be a later thing. Any questions on that so far? Or are you right now just really giggling it up with what you're making your encounter to be? Chaosa.
1d6 acolytes, 1d6 apes.
But the point here is once
Yeah,
once you have your encounter all set with what you want to have in there, click generate. Boom! You just made yourself an encounter and you didn't have to do any work. 2 chanters, 1 raider. Well, that's kind of pathetic, and 3 hyenas. That is a really terrible encounter. I need that. That is one that might go away. Wait, I don't want NPCs. I want encounters. I want new. FUBAR manual? No, where'd it go? So, something to keep in mind when you're seeing this right now, if you have it in all, it'll be everywhere for where you have the encounter selected. If you have it selected to a group that you have made, it will generate there. Any questions about generation of encounters? Hex, did it work?
Nope. Yeah, it worked.
Chaosa, did it work? Did you get a random encounter?
Yeah.
Is it stupidly tough?
I mean, 4 doom chickens, so
Okay.
19 elephants.
Wow. That is one dangerous chicken. So, okay,
I
so
screenshotted
let's
that.
go over what you guys have learned so far. You've learned some of the very basics of interface for loading the modules, how those work. You've learned pretty much everything you really need to know about NPCs and encounters. And the only thing I didn't show you about NPCs is that you can actually drag in the spells to the NPC spell slots, and you can add spells quickly that way. Let's see. Let's go over items real quick, because items are pretty simple and easy. Let's look at an actual item. So, where is magic items? I don't really want magic items, but whatever. Well, let's just go with data, because that'll be everything I need to know. So, items, when you click on them here, you're not going to really see much of anything. You really just kind of need to look for, like, crossbow, hand. So that's going to show you some damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, and again, you want to create your own group for this, something that I can kind of take apart. Let's see, because I made the light chain whip specifically for Elvira, so I'll show you about it. And you can do the same thing here. A lot of this is pretty much the same. The non-ID name is what this would be called if it wasn't identified. Notes are the description of the item if it was not identified. So to give you an example of that, this is an unidentified mushroom. It's a red mushroom when it's not identified, and it is a red mushroom that may or may not be poisonous when it's unidentified.
The red mushroom. Was it a friendly mushroom?
It is a component, which I'm about to get into. So you have types here. Types are even more important here than with the monsters, because anything you type in here will be what it's under. So if I type wrong, because I maybe I had a typo, let's see, let's actually do that with something. Where is that ring? So ring of lesser false life, let's take this and let's call it a rung, because maybe I was too drunk and I was typing things wrong. Boop, look at that, it's gone. And now there should now be a new thing here, although it might need to be closed and reopened. Close, reopen. Where is the rung? The rung is not here. That makes me sad. Anyways, it will sometimes show up here. That's my point. But then my greater point is that you no longer see it here. So let's go ahead and change that back. Oh snap, where did it go? Lesser ring of false. It's what I'm looking for. Lesser ring of false life. Let's change it from a rung to a ring. And if I change the type again at the bottom, it will be fine. So then you have rarity. Rarity really doesn't play too much into things outside of just keeping things copacetic with the rules. Cost, that's how much it costs. That's pretty obvious. Weight actually is important because that goes to your weight for your character. Bonus, this is if it had an attack bonus. So to give you an idea, to put it side by side with the light chain whip +1, because it's a +1, you'll put a 1 there. So unfortunately you can, well actually fortunately you can also do -1 as well. So if you wanted to make it a cursed weapon, for example, or a rusty weapon. And then you have damage. Again, this part's important because if you have a creature that has a capital S or a capital B, it would not resist this. So you want to make sure that it's all lowercase or it's all uppercase. You don't want to mix. And then there's properties. This is how you would do something. For example, this whip is magic over here because it's a +1 whip. So let's say I have NPC's Liquid Flame. So part of Liquid Flame's gimmick is that he resists normal damage. Now let's find something that actually does do that innately. The guards, they do that. So see here how it says slashing and bludgeoning damage from non-magical attacks. So if you have the magic prefix on the light chain whip, then it's a magic weapon. And the same thing you can do for like werewolves. Those require silvered weapons, right? So if you have silvered, and let me find a silvered weapon here, longsword silvered. See how it says silver here in the damage? So that will bypass that damage resistance. And that's where you want to put it for silvered. Properties, that's helpful information, but it matters here up in damage. Any questions on items so far?
Nope.
Last bit to note on items is this part right here. At the bottom, that's just for the non-identified, or the identified description. So, let me see if I can find something that has that. Potion of Acid Resistance. It's unidentified, which is this button again, up here. It's a yellow potion, is its non-ID'd name. A yellow potion that bubbles green when shaken is what the description that your players would see when it's not identified.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what, if it was identified, they would read. When you drink this potion, you gain resistance to acid damage for 1 hour. Drinking or administering the potion takes an action. Everything makes sense so far for items?
Yeah.
Alright, so next items is parcels. This is your treasure. I'm not going to make one of these, I'm going to just kind of show you. All of it is drag and drop, except for the currency where you just type in a number. So that's pretty cut, dry, and simple. So you now know how to create NPCs, you know how to create items. What I will do is, depending on how things go next week, I will show you how to import maps, and how to work with some stories and tables.
Okay.
Is there anything in particular that you guys wanted to know before I call it an afternoon?
Not right now.
Because you guys got like 30 minutes of questioning.
I'll try and think of some more questions for next week.
Yeah, I think I'm good for now.
So
How do we save? Actually,
so everything is automatically saved if you have the standard edition. Because that's when you... I'll show you what I mean by that. So let me go ahead and just... Nope, close that. So goddamn big. So if I exit the program and return to launcher, which takes a while because I had a lot of stuff loaded.
I posted the random encounter settings on the Discord, and people are just like, "What?"
But while this is doing its thing and taking its sweet ass time, I'm gonna actually look and see what you did. Wow, 2d10 frogs, huh? Or 10d20 frogs. That is a lot of frogs. That is a plague of frogs. So this is what I was telling you guys is important to notice about the difference between campaigns, because what you're doing right now is you're making a campaign. The data that you were creating is for a campaign. To show you how that plays out, let me take a look at the Sunday session and show you guys that.
Excuse me.
Yep. So when we're not going to go over exporting yet. We're going to go over exporting once I go through all of the story and the tables and all that other wonderful stuff.
Now, I do have one question. Do
Yes.
I need to buy, like, okay, this is from Steam. Do I need to buy, like, the handbooks and all that for DLCs?
So
wanted to do
the
campaign?
long answer to that is no. The short answer is maybe.
Okay.
It all depends on how much work you are able to put into building stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were going to buy anything, the only thing that I would recommend... There are 3 things I would recommend getting. And that would be the Player's Handbook, the
Dungeons and
the
Dragons
DMG, and the Monster Manual. Those are the only real things that you'll really only... I'm using the word need here, but I'm not saying that you actually really need them. Because and the only reason you would need them is because if you click on the backgrounds up button,
Yeah.
you only have one background. So you can write all of your own backgrounds. If you're willing to write all of the stuff yourself, you don't need any of that shit. You have everything you need right now to run a game. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So, do you need to buy anything? No. Should you buy anything? Maybe. It depends on how much work you're willing to do, and if you want to have stuff like Curse of Strahd that has maps. If you can make your own maps, you can make all of your own maps, make all of your own custom stuff, and never spend a dime. The only thing is that is an insane amount of work. Alright, so I was loading this to show you kind of an idea of what you're looking at. So, for example, right now the way things are being exported from what you guys just saw, that is my manual. That is this, right here. All of the stuff I have. So I can click on this and, oh look, I have that Ratman party thing. Generate, brand new encounter. But the thing is that if I switch over to my manual, any changes that are made over here are not applied over there. So that is now a module, even though when I'm working in it, it's a campaign. So that's why, for example, you remember how Lane wanted to have the beaver bikini?
Yeah.
I did not create that item in your session. I had to create it in my manual and then import it into the session so he can constantly have that item wherever his character goes. And that is the difference between the campaign and the module. The module you can load up and it'll be there wherever it is and have all the item descriptions, whatever. But if you don't have that module in the campaign, it doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Teosa, do you have any questions? Because you haven't asked any questions.
Nope, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You have to join us for Mega Man 8-Bit Deathmatch so you can fear the ice wall like everybody else.
Oh boy.
Then also the Flash Stopper, because that was fun. I actually got Hex to walk off a cliff. He was blind.
Oh, yeah.
The Flash Stopper.
I couldn't fucking see shit.
That's the point.
That's the point of being blind.
You
I
were
didn't even
blind.
know where I was going.
He
and I
didn't know
thought
where
I
he was going, and he was walking forward, and he fell to his death.
Awesome. Yeah, I also just got my index, so
Oh my god, your index?
yeah, the VR, Valve Index.
Oh, okay,
I have one of those. I got one of those recently.
all right. So-
I'm getting the HTC Vive.
So, anyways, that's basically how Fantasy Grounds works for NPCs and items. What I would recommend that you guys do is just go ahead and create a couple of creatures yourself. Go ahead, make them as fun or as stupid as you want. Add abilities to them, give it a shot. And what I'll do is, hopefully next week I won't have recording after a thing. I'll show you how to export it after that session, and I'll take a look at them and let you guys know how you did.
I do have a quick
Alright.
question.
Yeah.
But I think this could probably help me next week when I do see if there's a campaign.
Okay.
Say you know how someone rolls a bad roll,
Yeah.
you could say, oh, you just don't see anything.
Yeah.
How would you know if it's a bad roll or not?
You make it up. Typically, you
So-
start with a base of 10.
So 10 would be like you
10,
you don't
10,
see
10.
anything.
So there's actually, and this is one of those reasons why you would want to have the DMG, because that's something that is detailed inside of the DMG
Okay.
with difficulty. Typically, 10 is easy, 12 is not as easy, but not exactly difficult. 15 is moderate, 20 is hard. So typically you want to have something be 10, 15, or 20, depending on... and that's for skill check. That's not for resisting resisting an attack, like a spell.
Okay.
Resisting a spell is a little bit different. That's more curtailed to how powerful the creature is and how powerful the effect is. So, for example, if something's a low-level creature, you're not going to want to have a DC 15 on resisting its poison breath, for example, if it's a challenge rating 2. Because nobody at level 2, when you're probably going to be fighting that thing, is going to be able to resist that. So there is a little bit of kind of nuance, I guess, to it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's take it, for example, the pit trap. Jumping over the pit trap. That was my DC for that, in my head, I was thinking of as a DC 12 to jump across it. Is it really a DC 12? Maybe not, but that's the target number that I was looking for people to kind of roll. And some people did not. But typically I start with like a DC of 10. As being like, you can do it as a normal action. Well, not normal, but it requires not a lot of effort to do. Chaosa, questions? Any? No? None? This was an awful lot of stuff to learn, and I'm finding it hard to believe you don't have any questions on it.
Well, the only question I actually had it on session is, could you slow down a bit early on because of...
Because you
Because
were
of
trying to
what
get into stuff to... Yeah,
'cause
that's a little late
and-
to ask. That's not really a question, that's a request.
Yeah. But other than that,
Alrighty. Well, then go ahead and play with encounters, NPCs, and items. We'll take a look at them next week.
alright.
Later, taters.
Alright,
Later.
see ya.